Welcome to Grown and Social. This is your man Beatbox, along with your co-host Jenny J and our super panelists Lynn, Clint, and Netra joining us today. So, I just want to take a moment to remind everyone to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. This is Grown and Social. We're here every Friday at 10 p.m. If you're watching the replay on TikTok, please be sure to click the link in the bio. There you can find the YouTube link and you can find the YouTube channel. The new news is that we are now podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Pandora, Castbox, and Google Podcast. So if you can't watch us, if you're working out in the gym, you're on your bike, getting some cardio in, make sure that you go to any one of those podcast platforms, look for Grown and Social, and there you can find your super team. All right. Tonight's topic is going to be, should women answer the question, what do you bring to the table? So this should be an interesting topic. It was brought to us by your favorite panelist, Miss Lynnette Adams. Lynnette, you want to give us some background or some history or why you thought this was important for our listeners to hear about tonight? I think you're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, she is moody.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I'm chuckling because I'm always I don't think of myself as the favorite of anything, and we are all amazing. I'm admirers of y'all. So the reason why I think that this question is so important is because I believe, like I'm gonna believe here for a minute that men are really well-meaning when they ask this question for three reasons. One, they genuinely want to know how the relationship can be mutually beneficial. Fair question. Two, no one wants to be used or be with somebody that is not equally yoked. Let's even just go for that. And three, because they don't know no better. And the reason why I say they don't know any better is because it really doesn't take a whole lot of conversations and a little bit of intentionality to figure out if you and a person are like-minded and have similar things to offer. And so there's really no reason to ask this question, what do you bring to the table you invited me to? Because it's your table. So hopefully we get to talk about that a little bit tonight. Hopefully get to change the perspective for some men so they can date more intentionally and ask a better question. Maybe tonight we can give them some better questions to ask on a first, third date.
Well, me and Clint, we're going to hold it down. We're going to hold it down for the fellas tonight. We're going to most definitely give you some answers and some rebuttals to that.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
I'm ready.
You ready? So, Jenny J.
Yes.
Has a man ever asked you what you bring to the table? Or what do you think? What do you think about that question?
Well, personally, I've never been asked what I bring to the table because look at me. You can't ask me that. But I do think that people ask it in job when you're being interviewed for a job. People ask you if you go to a job interview, they're like, okay, what do you bring to the table? So in my mind, when you say what do you bring to the table, you're asking what are my strengths in a relationship? What are my strengths to towards this relationship? So if you're asking me if I'm a team player, if you're asking me if I have initiative, then that's a whole different thing. We can talk about my how I interact in a relationship, how I function, what can I offer to you as a partner. We can talk about that. However, if you're saying to me, how are my finances and how I can contribute to the relationship, no, I'm going to have to look at you sideways because as a man, you're looking for a family. And when you're looking for a female, you're looking for somebody to build a family, somebody to carry your offspring, right? You want your lineage to continue and you're looking at me to do that. So obviously, I'm kind of lost on the question. So I'll just leave it at that. And
Yeah, you're looking at the future mother of your potential future mother of your children,
right.
and you're gonna ask a silly question like that. Netra, anybody ever asked you that question? What you bring to the table, or what do you think about that question? I think you're on mute too.
Yes, I haven't asked the question. In all honesty, I think at times the question is used as a way to kind of undermine a woman's confidence, to be quite honest.
Bingo.
Especially for me, there's this thing of, because being conventionally attractive, it's like, okay, so what else do you have to offer, right? But my thing is, if I'm going by the way things are set in our society, you should do your research, because that's why you're in my face, right? You're in my face because you did your research, right? So no, I'm not answering that question. Now, in the past, I have been a little snarky in the way I answer it. But as of late, my response to it is, I'm not answering that question. Like, just blunt like that. I'm not answering that question. What's the next question? So,
How have men responded to that though? Because that's a real stumper. Because I'm not gonna divulge why people are asking you that question, because I think I got the answer. But I'm just curious, what was their response when you was like, no, I'm not gonna answer that? Were they just like, okay, like, they just kind of like, I can imagine someone would just be perplexed. So they'd be like, oh, she must be smart enough to know that, I'm trying to trap her in this question.
but yeah, I think they definitely were shocked, but I just give the reasoning of what I just gave you right now. Like, it's not a valid question, because if you're in my face, then that means that you should have done your research. You see what you like. There's clearly something that you feel I can feel, where you may have a weakness, I may have a strength. So it's not my job to sell myself to you, right? So that's how I feel.
So, hey, Clint, before I divulge what I think, people are trying to get at, what do you think about that question? Have you ever asked a woman that? Could you actually fix your mouth to ask a woman?
Oh no.
Yeah.
And for me, it's that kind of question is something you ask your homeboy, your homegirl. What am I bringing to the table to be with this person?
Right.
That's not a question I think you should be asking the person you're trying to be with,
Okay.
because that question answers itself. You don't even have to ask that question, because it answers itself, I think. And that's just my opinion. Some guys, they are stupid enough, they can't see it. So, and they're women too. But however it go, it's not a question to ask. It's something you see. You can see. That's how I think it's a dumb question. And if fellas, if you're asking that question, take it out your playbook. Take it out. It's gonna kill you.
Just rip it up, shred it up, and
Don't
throw it
even
away.
think about that question. You'll see. You'll see if she's bringing something to the table. If
I
she's
can say I've
adding
never
to
met a
your cup,
provider that asked that question.
that's
I've
right.
never met a provider that asked that question ever.
Bingo.
Well, but
When you ask that question, I'm like, uh-oh.
I mean, but generally,
Big money next.
I'm thinking the providers are generally going to be the one to ask you that question, though.
No, a provider never
totally
asked
honest
that
with you.
question. A man that provides ain't worried about what a woman brings to the table. If he see the value in her, he'll take her out the Taco Bell drive-through. And he'll make her what he want to make her. A provider is not concerned with what you bring to the table that he built and nurtured, because he
Okay.
already knows, he's intelligent enough to know that if he recruited you or looked at you, that you have what it takes to, what good is an empty table, really, so if you have just a table and you're asking me to bring something, that why would I even be there? Like, why am I coming to an empty table?
Yeah.
So you wanna get another perspective on this?
Yes.
Because Clint said it was silly, and I agree with him.
Yeah.
It's silly, right? So, but here's the deal. And fellas, I already told y'all. I'm gonna divulge all the secrets. You know what I mean? Because when you come to Growing in Social, you're gonna get You're gonna get the real. You're gonna get the dirt. You're gonna get. I'm gonna give you the real talk from a male perspective. So here's what's going on with that question. This goes back to a show that we previously did, where we talked about how the societal norms are shifting, and women are now taking on more masculine roles. So now you got a lot of these men to where used to go out and club meat and bring back the meat, and they would put it on the table till their woman would cook it. These guys were probably the avoidant emotional type where anytime there was anything to talk about, they go, I'm going back out to hunt, because they're trying to avoid showing any type of emotion to this particular woman. So now men, as I told them before, you got to up your game. You got to change your playbook. So the way that people are doing that is by asking women, well, what do you bring to the table? Now, the reason why I'm asking you that is because I need to show you that I'm dominant. The moment that I'm still in control, that's how I'm going to remain in control nowadays. Being that you're now masculine and you're Miss Independent, you know what I'm saying? I need to show you that I'm in control. So what I'm going to do is ask you what you bring to the table, because the moment I ask you that, it's going to make you feel some kind of way. It's going to make you feel like you need to prove to me your worth. Okay? So the moment I ask you that and you answer it, which is why I was asking Netra earlier what men look like when, she didn't answer it. Because if they don't answer it, then that means they got to go to another thing in the playbook. So that's the smartest thing you could do, is not answer that question. And that's kind of like what I was saying. A lot of providers would probably be the one to ask you that question, because it's like they want to be in control. If you're making money, especially you, Lynnette, right? You can take care of yourself. You're doing good for yourself. It's like, I still need to be in control. I'm going to ask you that question because I need to get that upper hand on you or undermine you from the start.
I don't get that question from men with money. And I tell people that all the time. Like, one thing I have never struggled with is getting a man to spoil me. And the men with money have never asked me that question. It's the men who are still trying to figure themselves out, down and out on their luck, and want me to, ride or die, which really just translates to die, spiritually, emotionally,
No,
mentally, you
translates
know.
to we trying to
Um,
kill you.
yeah, you trying to kill me. I have never gotten a man with money to ask that question, because he don't care. And they don't care about
No.
my money either. They don't even know what money I make because they don't ask. And you know what? To Nietzsche's point, I really don't answer the question. But lately, I've been back to my snarky thing, and I actually posted about this today. And the last person that asked me that question, I looked at him. I said, "Can I ask you a question before I answer yours?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Can you recollect any time that you've gone to the gas station and the gas station attendant ran into the parking lot begging y'all to play the lottery?" And he said, "Why would the gas station attendant do that?" He was like, "Everybody knows that winning the Mega Millions or the Powerball would change their lives, so they gonna play because you gotta play to win." I said, "Exactly. So if a person knows they're a prize, I'm not running to your table to tell you what I have to offer. You either gonna play to win or you're gonna miss out." And men who know what a prize looks like, they're not gonna even risk messing it up, asking you a question like that. They're gonna pay attention, because guess what? I'm intelligent. I'm an orator. I'm a PhD student. I could tell you I bring unicorns to the table, and you're gonna believe me because I'm gonna make it sound believable. But a man is gonna pay attention and be like, you know what? I know her value, how she sat down at the table, how she presented herself the night when I had a conversation with her, how she responds when I call, how she honestly, a man told me once, he was a well-off guy. He said, "Any woman who answers that question for me, she too desperate for me." He said, "And I need a woman that's confident in herself." He said, "So the minute a woman," he said, "I actually asked the question, what do you bring to the table if I need to eliminate somebody?" And he said, "The women that answers that." I said, "That's bold." He was like, "Yeah." He said, "A woman with confidence would never like rally herself at the table like that, trying to negotiate herself like a used car salesman." And that just stuck in my head, like, oh wow, like every man asking for a different reason, and none of them are a good reason. That's we can all agree that none of the reasons are a good reason. And if they're asking that, what they may really be wanting to say is, can you pay 50-50 on the table? Because that's the new question. You gonna go half on the
But
table? You gonna go half on the table, but I still need you to cook. And I still need you to put food on the table because that's what a woman's supposed to do. Oh, and when you're done, because you're a woman, I need you to clean the table. But don't forget your half on the first of the month because, it's our table. So they just have
Mm.
to be honest with what they really want to know. Do you want to know if I would prefer a man ask me on a date if it was important to them, what is your philosophy around shared finances? Because I think that's a fair question.
Right. I agree. I think to Netra's point, it has some psychological effect on you as a female. And there is a name that is being tossed around social media, Pick Misha. So,
Pig Misha?
yeah, Pick
Yes.
Misha.
Or what was
So,
the other one? Pick Misha and Barb D Builder.
right, Barb the Builder. So, I think that sometimes we don't give men the value they have in terms of intelligence. I think when a man comes to date you, he is sizing you up psychologically. Who are you? And to Everett's point, how can you break this person down? How do they think? Are they desperate for a relationship? Are they desperate in any case to contribute? What can I use in this situation as leverage?
Yeah.
So if you do answer the question, that's going to say, well, you actually want to be a part of any relationship, regardless of if you have to pick up the table, wash the table, break down the table, clean the table, whatever you have to do, you need to be in this relationship. So the more enthusiastic you are to answer the question, the more likely they will be able to psychologically assess where you fall on the timeline. And gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you guys have a hierarchy. You have the girl you're going to sleep with, the one you'll keep for a while, and the one you'll marry. So I think you guys are trying to categorize us when you ask that question. Am I right?
I can agree with that. There's a classification. There's a classification by that answer. The moment you answer that question, I'm going to know which one of those three buckets you fall into. Yeah, I agree with that. Clint?
Again, I don't ask the question. I just wait to see, and it doesn't take long to see because
Right.
you know I'm gonna gear it so that we're driving down this road so I can see how you drive.
Right.
So if I can't see how you drive, then there's nothing. But no,
Right.
I
But
don't. I
do
Go
you think
ahead.
younger men tend to want to manipulate situations in the sense where they think to themselves, well, I will see how far this will go and how much mileage I can get out of it without paying much?
It it's not even the young man. It's men my age, and
Right.
it's. I think
And
it's
you,
one of those traditions through manhood. That they try a woman to see how far they can go.
right.
Those old songs back in the day. Oh boy, come home 3 o'clock in the morning. His wife open the door and say, "Baby, are you hungry?" She ain't saying where you been. She's
Mm.
saying where you hungry. So he's going as far as he can go because she's coming and opening the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, talking about are you hungry? She ain't crying. Shoot, I can do this every night.
Yeah.
Right.
Every man is trying to see how far he can go. And if she's the one, then he's gonna either nip it or he gonna keep going or push her to the side because this one is allowing me to do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Hmm.
and she's gonna stay right there and she's gonna put up with my mess and knowing I'm messing with this other girl, she's okay.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Every man pushes a woman to see how far he can go. Just about. I'm not gonna say every man, but
You
just
know,
about.
a lot of them. And Clint, I just want to just add on to that because I know I'm about to make some ladies mad, but it's a layer of accountability. for us.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself every time I want to be a pick Misha or a Barb the Builder, I am disrupting my community of women and I am enabling other women to set standards for themselves. And so it's just not a responsibility for me to have a standard of the kind of questions I will answer or the kind of hoops I will jump through. Because if too many of us do that, men will normalize that. And then when somebody comes along that's like, wait a minute, I'm not answering that, then they are being deemed as masculine. Because I started asking men, define masculine to me. And when they started defining it to me, it wasn't even working or making money. They were like, well, this one girl, I text her and she told me that she not about to sit up here and have no text conversations. No, that girl wasn't masculine. She set a boundary with you on how she wanted to be communicated with. But since so much of us will just take anything, that looks very peculiar. So they're like, what? A girl who's not about to sit up here and roll out her resume? I mean, if you want to know that much, then ask the girl for her relationship resume before she come to dinner. I don't know. But I think it's a responsibility for women. We have to start holding each other accountable, but also like inspiring each other. Like, hey, when you really like a guy, one, you're probably not going to get them by being either of those women. And two, you are making it so much harder for your sister counterparts to come in who do have standards because now the man is thinking it is normal to, demoralize women in a way to say, you have to prove your value to me. And to be perfectly honest, I don't need a man to prove his value to me. I don't come out the house for somebody that I didn't already know what they brought to the table. So if I'm coming out to dinner with you, I already see value in you. And what I'm looking for is compatibility. And that's where we need to start thinking of like, what does it matter if I bring everything to the table and I'm a horrible person to be around?
Right.
So, one of my questions is, um, there are women who are definitely gonna answer this question. I mean, and I'm gonna put myself in their shoes. You're talking about being of a certain age, wanting to have a family, wanting to show that ring and that wedding dress, um, wanting to post on social media that you're in a relationship.
Right.
So you definitely want this. The guy knows, you know. What would you say to them? Because they're gonna think they're gonna run off Mr. Low Value Man by not answering the question.
I tell them if you want all of those things, don't answer that question. It
Okay.
is very rare that the woman who does everything to prove herself, it is very rare that the woman who jumps to be your girlfriend and wife before y'all even determine that y'all are dating, it is very rare that those women get chosen.
That's
So,
true.
and I'm just being honest. As a retired pick Misha, I'm not afraid to be transparent on this show. I used to be pick Misha. Oh, what do you need? Would I'll do it? A favor? Okay. You need me to go run to the moon and bring back a crater? I can do that on my lunch. And guess what? None of those men will ever choose you. Why? Because they don't have to. You already chose yourself to be their doormat. So that is exactly the role that you sign up for when you start answering questions like that. They're not going to go home and be like, "Oh my God, she answered that question so well." And honestly, you
But they might. They might.
no, they're not. And I'm gonna tell you the secret. I'm a boss. I'm a boss. I hire people, not a boss like a boss woman. I mean, I can be, but I'm an actual boss. I've hired people, and I've interviewed people, well over 100 people, and I almost never hire the person who tries to sell themselves because why are you trying to sell yourself so hard? If you had the skills and qualifications that you talked about on this resume, I want to see if you have the bandwidth to fit into our culture. And if you are not asking questions about culture, work life balance, how, what makes a good work environment for us, if you're not asking me those questions, my assumption is you're trying to pull a wool over my eyes. You're going to be here, you're going to be miserable to work with. You're gonna be miserable to train because now you know it all. So that question doesn't even really work in interviews. I'm telling you, as a person, like I said, who's interviewed well over 100 people, that doesn't impress me what they bring to the table. I looked at their resume. I know what their skill sets are. I want to know who you are. Tell me who you are. And and again, those women who answer that question, what they bring to the table, that man is already mapping out in his brain what he can use you for. You hear what I said? Not date you. What he can use you for. Oh, she told me that she pays attention to detail. She told me she's romantic. She told me she can cook real well. So now here you are. You ain't got a title. You ain't got a commitment. He asking four other women what they bring to the table, and you done
Yeah.
already you his wife, and then
But it's like Jenny said, we're classifying you.
you classified me. And
Yeah.
so I tell women who fall in that category, like I promise you, if you really want to get a man to choose you, don't answer that question. Just show up authentic and the right man, he gonna see it. It's because God is
But we got to give people an answer for this question, right? There's an answer. I think there could be at least one answer. I think, and maybe that answer, and I mean, and females will have to tell me if you disagree. But what if you were to say, well, if you're asking me what my strengths are, and then lead into kind of like what your strengths are, and whatever you want that to be. If it's your job or your education or your parenthood or just your qualities as a person, your life story. I think that could be a way that you could segue into to answer that question without just saying no. It's kind of like answering the question without answering it, because then I'd be like, she's intellectual, like she's got a mature
no.
mind
I
on
just
her.
gave him all the tools to manipulate me over the next 6 months. I just gave him all the tools to
I,
manipulate me over the 6 months because I just told him everything I wanted.
But
No, if
you really believe that?
I've experienced it.
Yes.
As
Yes.
a woman, I'm telling women, I tell people I know how to date better now because I promise I was the resident village idiot. Like if I told you the things
Not
that
Lynette.
I done,
I won't believe that.
yes,
I
I was
won't
the
believe
village
it.
idiot. I
We
would,
all
if
made
I
our
liked a
mistakes.
man, it would be nothing I could do. I would be at the store buying Gucci. I would be at the store
Oh,
buying gifts. I would be at their house running errands. I was the
Uh-uh.
executive secretary. I was a damn fool. And guess what? Those men never chose me, and I would watch them go out on dates with other women in the outfits I bought. So they would go out on
Wow.
dates with other women. They would spend time with other women. Women got those dates. Women got those dates. I would do things to make and save them money, and they would take that money and go out of town with another woman. And it wasn't cheating on me because guess what? Wasn't nothing established. So it was. I just showed up and I was a free executive assistant, and I gave them all the tools because my favorite word used to be, "But I'm a good woman." I used to cry a lot. I'm a good woman. I'm a good woman. I'm good. I take care of my man. I spoil them. They don't care. I never forget one time I told this man, I just wanna have a warm towel ready for my husband when he get home, my man. He get out the shower and I hear him a warm towel. He's like, what the fuck make you think he want a warm towel? And that was a shocker to me because I thought I was saying something. But the reality of it is you on the first date, men and women, this is just not for women. Do not give people the tools to manipulate you. If they know you want marriage really, really bad or a relationship really, really bad, they know what to use to dominate a situation. And so now they're dangling that carrot in front of your face of a relationship when I just say, you're right. That you could, instead of saying, I'm not answering that question, say, you know what? I pride myself as a really intellectual woman. You seem like one too. How about we revisit what you really want to know about me? Because it's something you
See,
want to know.
there you go.
And so why don't
There
you
you
just
go.
ask me what you really want to know? And they might say something like, "Well, I mean, what makes you a good woman?" And I'll be like, you know what? God created me in His image, and God is good. So there you
You,
go.
you know what I would say when you answer me like that? I'd be like, that was such a great answer. I want you to be the woman I stay with for the rest of my life.
Child.
manipulation, manipulation,
What,
manipulation.
y'all not falling for that? They
No.
not- oh, Clint, I'm busted. I'm busted.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
busted.
the thing is that I think that it's a manipulation tool,
It
but
is. It
people
is.
are going to be in situations where they feel under pressure to respond. And
And
so
that's why I was trying to say, let's find an answer for people, just so they can, even if you don't answer it, you can still provide an answer.
so I
You know,
so I think you can redirect the conversation. So when you're going to redirect the conversation, you are going to redirect it to him and say, since this is a job interview, or since we're interviewing each other, right? Let's
I
get
can
down
so
to
see
Exactly
you
what it
saying that,
is,
Jenny.
too.
yeah, let's get down
Exactly
to
what
some
it is.
interview questions. And then I would fire back all those interview questions that he put him under pressure to. Because obviously he's trying to find tools to manipulate me. So I need to find tools. And to Lynette's point, I feel like a man who wants to be built. So Barber the Builder, he's looking for Barber the Builder. He is definitely going to ask those questions because he wants to know, of all the women in his, in his harem, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what he can depend on each person for, that he can build himself. And so most barber builders don't realize that they're not the only builder on the
That's a whole construction
construction
crew.
site, right?
It's a whole construction crew. And first of all, just a quick question. What kind of table is it anyway? You asking me what I bring to the table. I mean, is this a Wayfair table? Is it a Z Gallery table? I need to know what kind of table we talking about before you start making demands. I mean, because Spirit and Emirates are two different airlines, right? It's
Yep.
two different experiences.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what I'm bringing to the table, let's display your table then. Your table means if you want to know what I bring to the table, then get your phone out and pull up your bank account because I need to know what that is. Show me what your savings are, your 401k. Show me what your next 5-year plan is. Tell me whether you own or rent. Let me go outside and look at your car. Let me see. Let me see if you got any mental
Clay finna
health
say
issues.
something. Clay finna say something.
Is it a mental health
But
table?
you
Like,
asking all these questions,
We're
but
finna
there's
say
one
something.
question you haven't asked. What's your credit rating?
right. Oh, that's two.
That's
But just
correct.
bring up.
What's your
I need
credit
you to
rating?
bring up
You
credit
don't even
cards.
have to ask anything else but what's your credit rating?
Yeah.
That'll
What's your
kind of
credit
tell you
score?
where they at. If they
That does
paying,
answer a
if
lot.
they not paying.
You may be asking me to bring my best to the spades card table.
That's
Like that
right.
little square black
That's
table.
right.
Like I need to know if you feel comfortable enough. I don't have a problem with making men feel uncomfortable anymore. If you feel comfortable enough to ask me what I bring to the table, I feel comfortable enough to ask you your credit score and your bank account balance.
That's right.
Because that's
Yeah,
the table that I'm bringing something
that's
to.
right.
And if you don't have anything at the table to begin with, then it sounds to me like we just both sitting in some lawn chairs talking for nothing.
That's
Ain't no table. It's not a table.
Ain't no table. It's a
So
picnic.
you're right.
It's a
If you
picnic
want
on a
that
blanket.
question answered, you should feel comfortable enough. If I went to a job interview, before I even applied for the job, you told me what my pay range was. You told me what the qualifications were, so your expectations. You told me, when you were looking to have the job started, meaning I know ideally when you're looking to hire. And you also told me what my benefits were. There's a benefits package that I decide if it is even worth me applying to that job. So when guys use that job interview, I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. I don't just go applying to any job. I apply to jobs that are a good fit for me. So if you want me to treat this date like an interview, then first I need you to show me what the table looks like and I can better answer your question. Now, if you feel transparent to show me all those things, I will entertain you and tell you how I can match that.
Yes, definitely. So Mitra, you are the baby in the group. So you definitely have met, I would say I've met a lot more traditional men who don't necessarily ask that question.
Yes.
But I'm thinking that you've met a number of people who definitely feel that this is a valid question and
Yes.
Right. So what is your advice in terms of dealing with it? Because you know that as women, we get to a certain point where we're wanting what we were told. We want Prince Charming, we want that wedding dress, we want, and men know that we're on the hunt to get together with somebody. So what would you recommend that these young women say in terms of, and you don't want to turn the guy off because he might just be an idiot. I mean, he just asks idiotic questions, but he might be a good guy. So what can they do?
I think a good way to go about it is asking them to clarify the reason behind the question. I think oftentimes we can apply our own reasons as to why someone is asking us a question. So if you give them the space, if you ask them, can I ask you a question in response to your question, and then just say, what's the reason? Why are you asking me that? And then more often than not, they'll feel like an idiot because they're not really going to be able to give you an answer. So, to be quite honest, they're not really going to be able to give you an answer. So at that point, you can choose to answer it if you want to, but I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I like everybody's response about redirecting, but I'm sticking to it. I'm not answering it. That's my answer. I'm not answering it. It's a boundary. If you can't respect it, you've already told me how you really feel. And it's not even about holding your cards. I just feel like if you can't even give me a reason as to why you're asking me that, you've kind of answered your own question. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've kind of answered your own question without me having to even say anything or turning you off, so to speak. And either way, if you feel that there's a moment of discourse that we're having, we should be able to have a conversation about that and move on. And then even that moment, if you can't do that, you already have your answer, sis. There's no date number 2. There's no reason for it.
Right. And I think this speaks to us being able to hold boundaries, which is very difficult because we're wanting that prize that we're told from Cinderella books, that this is it. So,
But
Clint,
I was gonna say, if you really break down the Cinderella story, this man had to search all over the town or the country for this woman based off her fit in this shoe, because he didn't take enough time to remember her face to get to know her. Like, it really ain't as romantic as it sounds when we really break it down. Like, he wouldn't even have to do all that had he asked her name. But he didn't care about any of that. He was enamored by the physical beauty of her. He didn't really care who she was, and that's even a better reason. He didn't care what she brought to the table. She ain't even have both shoes by the end of the night.
That's right.
So,
He just wanted her at his table.
He just wanted her at his table.
That's right.
And I love, Netra, that you spoke about boundaries, because psychologically we do not set boundaries because we align boundaries. They are adjacent to us with rejection. If I tell someone what I don't like, I run the risk of losing this connection. And if I lose this connection, that's somehow a reflection of the worth of person, my worth as a person. And if this person doesn't want me, out of 7 billion people in the world, I'm not going to assume every woman wants a man and every man wants a woman. I want to be inclusive. But there's 7 billion people in the world. But we are so fearful that if one person doesn't want us, it is a reflection of our entire being and theory of deserving. And so we really got to wrap ourselves about, why are we so afraid to stick to a boundary and say, hey, that's just not something I'm going to answer. And if that's the deal breaker between us getting to know each other so you could find out about this ridiculous table, then maybe you weren't the person for me anyway. Because if we can't get past the boundary of, I don't want to answer this question, how are we going to get past the big stuff?
I lost it. Never mind.
Okay. So the whole concept of coffee dates, people have different ideas. Some people say, well, I don't want to be stuck with, Johnny Be Good for 2 straight hours while he tells me what, his Harley Davidson, how many spokes are on it. So, what are your concepts about coffee dates?
So that's why you think people are going on coffee dates, so that they don't have to stay in a long, drawn out kind of like dinner.
Yeah, I think
3-course meal.
That's a sleepless in Seattle thing.
No.
My boy says he's telling his son, look, You go on dates. That way, you ask them out for a drink. You don't ask them out for a dinner, because if you ask them out for a dinner and they turn out to be really idiots or whatever, you're stuck through the whole dinner. If it's a drink, you can just have a drink. Up, gotta go, and you're out.
Right.
Yeah, coffee's cold.
Coffee's cool.
Okay.
I have a theory behind that. I'll let Netra go first because I want to make sure we are leaving space for all of our amazing panelists. But I have an answer to that.
I don't want to go first.
I will jump in. So I do not do coffee dates.
Period.
I'm not, you are not, and let me tell you why. I'm going to assume that this man met me online and maybe met me at a store and was like, hey, can we meet up again? Let's just, however we met, it was a brief meeting. You are going to want me to come to that coffee date my best. That means you want me to come looking beautiful. You want me to come with my hair done. You want me to come with a cute outfit on to show, my curves. You want me to come put together. That takes me about an hour and a half to do. I am not investing an hour and a half to 2 hours of time to get ready so you can buy me a latte. I'm just not. What I usually offer in a situation like that, where a person's like, hey, I would really love to get to know you. Would you like to meet for coffee? First of all, we live in Atlanta. I'm not getting in traffic for coffee. So what I will always say is, hey, I get that you want to get to know, before we, spend a whole lot of time or go out on an official date. How about we schedule a FaceTime date? I'm available this time. You can stay in your home. I can stay in my home. Hey, we can even DoorDash. I can make my drink. You can make your drink. And, we can just casually meet each other. I'm not going to dress up. I don't need you to do that either. Would that work for you? Because what it sounds like to me is you just want to get to know me. I'm not doing all of that for coffee. And I don't even believe that that's the real reason. So I'm going to even pull accountability further. Women say they don't want to be stuck on a date with somebody they don't like. You know how many dates I ended early that I didn't like? So they tell themselves that, to convince themselves that it's okay to settle for less. And men are rotating too many women. So I get it, boo. It's hard to take 5 women out to dinner in a week. But you're going to have to figure that out with you and your budget. You're going to have to get creative. Piedmont Park, a lot of things that you can do, and you're going to have to be creative. Maybe we're not going to dinner. Maybe we're doing something else. I went to a park with a guy once, and it was really sweet. We did a picnic. We played like this little card game, and we had a 5-hour date. It was amazing. So if you are not interested in enough in me to invest in a couple of hours of time to get to know me, then we're probably not a match. I didn't hit a nerve enough, because coffee that's a business meeting. Again, you want me to come with my resume?
But I mean, isn't that a good? I mean, but can't you? I mean, but that could work. You don't think that could work at all? Because it's like if you know off the top you don't like this person, and you're not clicking, it's kind of like,
I set the standard. Because if you think I'll take a coffee date, then when I want something more, let me tell you, I do helicopter rides. I do flowers, and I'll take the public flowers, but I also take them 1-year roses that cost $500. I take romance. I take intentionality. I take romance, like romantic evenings. I have high expectations for my partner that I meet. I reciprocate. I'm not asking for nothing I won't get back. But if I let you lowball me in the beginning, then I'm going to be negotiating the whole time for things that I wanted in the first place. So when a man tells me I'm high maintenance, that is not an insult to me. I absolutely am. And if I am outside of your budget, if I am outside of your expectations or your capabilities, then it's good that we know that before we even spend any time together.
That's a good topic for another 2 budgets. But
Yeah.
but my man, I'm losing it tonight. But my thing, I forget. Go ahead. Come on, Netra. I'm on here, sir.
Why you don't do coffee? I'm not doing no coffee.
Clint? I feel like you know what you want to say.
I kind
Just
of
say
do.
it, Clint.
I think he's reserving it because he's waiting to hear us all.
My thing is, brothers, if you're asking a female out for coffee, that's like asking her out to the bar for a drink. Don't do it. Ask her out for a meal. Share a meal. Look, I don't want to buy you the world. I just want to share a meal with you and get to know you over that meal. And if anything comes out of that meal, great. If it doesn't, she goes her way, you go your way, end the story.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have some budget if you're gonna be dating multiple women. You're gonna need a budget accordingly.
I agree.
That's between you and your bank account.
You better
I
watch
agree.
Chef Ramsay or
Um,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, come over
I think
to the crib.
Yeah.
last week I told you guys that I was out of the game for a long time. And so I guess my concept was I didn't want to be around somebody that probably wasn't safe because my radar was really down. Didn't know who was safe or who it wasn't, or who was crazy or who wasn't. So I personally wanted it to be shorter, right? And in the initial stage with a person who will remain nameless, we actually went to a restaurant and we stayed there for maybe 20 minutes. And then I said I was going to go. And one thing that struck me with that is that once you're there with the person for a while, you start realizing when you meet somebody in person. So Lynnette, you had said on Skype or FaceTime or whatever, when you meet the person, when you meet them in person, there is a I would say a spark or something that comes in to you. So I do feel like a physical face-to-face is necessary. However, for me, I didn't want it to be very long in case I myself wasn't comfortable with dating either. Like, I wasn't ready to date. So that was my concept why I wanted it to be short. Now, in terms of coffee dates, men and women do have like 5-6 people within an hour that they are going to see, and then they're figuring out who is going to be the easy person to sleep with. So I do agree with you that if you do that, you're going to end up definitely, talking to him, and he has 4 other people behind you that he's seeing. So it's really a waste of your time. It's a waste of you spending money on your hair, on your outfits, on everything. And then he's like, oh, well, your butt is not big enough. I think let's see who else.
Yeah.
Right? So I do agree that coffee dates can be a little bit,
An escape route.
A little more. I just need you to make a little more effort.
right.
I'm worth the effort.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe you worth the effort, then they're not going to believe you worth the effort. If you present yourself as a low effort person, then that is how they're going to treat you. Like I said, I've never seen a gas station attendant be like, do you want to play the lottery?
So ladies, what do you say? Because I'm going to go to the men's side now. Men will tell you that women are looking for a free meal.
Well, some women are though, right? Some women play those games.
They'll tell you that, she knows from the initial stage that she has no intention of
getting with you. Exactly.
Right. But, she agrees to the date. Right. And I mean, in our defense, he must have looked at you and said, am I in her league? But he still believes that he is, and he had a chance. So he made a date with you. And then you guys go out and, you have your dinner, and according to them, you ditch. No, there are 2 problems I have with that. He was expecting dinner to include after events. So he didn't truly want to buy you dinner. He wanted something to happen after dinner. And I think he could have gotten somebody else, like somebody you pay, if he needed that event to occur. But so what do you say about men that are saying, well, I want a coffee date because, I'm going to spend $200 on you and then you just go home.
Mm,
Mm.
Netra?
I mean,
Inquiring
yeah,
minds want to know.
I've never gone on a date with a guy just for a meal. To be quite honest with you,
Right.
it takes me a while to even get to the date part.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not about to just go on a date with somebody for a meal. I understand like the sentiment behind that, but like y'all said, you need to have a budget. Oh,
Hey, you win, right? She's not going on a date just because she wants a meal. All right, fellas?
that's and
yeah.
Women in
you can
Atlanta,
tell women who's
women in Atlanta
out
brunch
Yeah,
like
legit.
you can generally tell because while you're sitting there, I think most
They paid
men,
you no mind all night. Now all of a sudden they're hungry. Now, oh, there he go.
but that was the invention of the coffee date. They were like, you know what, man, I'm not gonna be sitting through this again.
But you know
You
what?
know?
It's not even real. It's not even real, beatbox. The women in Atlanta, Netra, tell me if I call you on Sunday and be like, let's go to brunch, are we going? And we're gonna order like we drug dealers. We getting three
That's true.
appetizers.
Right.
We
That's
splitting the
true.
bill down the middle, or one of us treating. We ain't we
Yep,
ain't turning we ain't turning brunches into math lessons.
That's
If
right.
women in Atlanta especially don't do anything else, we brunch. We eat.
that's true.
We don't do that. Me and my girls, we don't do nothing else. We eat. The
Yeah.
last thing I want to do is spend time with a man I don't like for food. I take
Oh,
myself
that's
to
right.
5-star restaurants. I just took myself to Houston's.
How you
I'm
gonna
not
enjoy the
going.
meal and you don't want to be there with the company?
Yeah, I don't want to be there with the company. Like, I don't think it's real. I think I'm not saying that it has never happened, but I don't think for the most part a woman is even going to waste her time sitting for a free meal. We go out to eat on our own. We take a whole TikTok has a whole travel talk of women traveling by themselves to exotic places. So
Yeah, but it's about the social media. It's about the pictures. It's about you getting dressed up, showing all your friends that you're going out on a date. You still got it. You know what I'm saying? It's that social aspect to it.
I can do that
So,
without going out on a date with
but
somebody
I'm
I don't
saying,
like.
some women want it. They want, you know what I'm saying? Like they want to kind of portray that, you know.
But they ain't posting the man. So just go. I went to dinner the other night. I could have put my two. I had two glasses of liquor or wine. I could have put one glass on one side, one glass on the other, and did
Yeah,
this and did the
you could
same
do that.
thing.
Yeah, you could do that. But some of them do show the man, and then they be in the, you know, all in the in their own comments saying, you know, is he a winner? What do you think?
Most women ain't posting no man. I know. Listen,
It
I'm a
ain't.
pop
Cause
up
they
Mary.
they not peeping that card. They not peeping that
We
card.
not posting men, but women. We the
You
ones
post
who
women. Women
it'll be
post
his
women.
elbow.
Yeah, it's like you see a hand or something.
We not posting men. So I think men just say that because they don't want to be honest. Look, I'm dating multiple women. My budget a little tight. And
Up
I,
front.
Oh
I can't
man,
afford
Up front.
to take all these women. I'm mean. I'm like, well, if your finances are tight and you can't do dinner, I totally understand. Maybe you shouldn't be dating. Maybe we could go out when your finances are a little bit better.
Or
well,
maybe he's just not on that level to where because look, I'm dating multiple women, but yeah, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Let's go ahead and do that.
Look,
So
if I had a man
know
that was
that
dating
your
multiple women and
multiple
still did what
dating
I
thing
wanted him to do.
isn't a problem. It
So a
isn't
man,
the issue.
yeah, if a man really like you, I had a man that I knew for a fact that he had multiple girls, but he did more for me than all of them other girls. And the reason why is because he knew I wasn't taking nothing less. So here go these girls talking about, we don't have to go out on a date. How about I cook?
No.
No, I'm not coming to your house and you're not coming to
I'd
mine.
be
If
like,
we,
yes, that's a meal for me tonight. And I'm going there. But I know she's not going to be there in the end.
no, if you want to be a wife, you gotta move like a wife. And a wife is not out just giving her best to every man that shows her attention. So I'm giving my best to a man who makes an effort and is showing that me he is husband material. My husband is not taking me to coffee. My husband is gonna take me on a date. And my
and
husband don't mind
Even if
paying
it
for a
is in the
meal.
So,
backyard, right?
so if your budget is low, which in times like these, it could be,
Below. Yeah.
right? What are some successful
yo,
dates? What are
what's the call
dates
to
that,
action? What's the call to
right?
action?
How that- You know
Oh,
what? My most fun date was that picnic date. I
Hmm.
gotta imagine that entire date was $25. I don't know. Like I didn't check the Jimmy John's. We had Jimmy John's. We had bottled water because we were both trying to like kind of watch our diet. And we had this card game, the Ace Metaphor date questions or whatever, where you pull the cards and it kind of asks questions like, what is dating you like? Or what's your worst fear? But it was a fun little game. And then my favorite game is Scrabble. So he had paid attention to that in our first few conversations, and he came with a Scrabble board. We sat at Piedmont Park for like 5 to 6 hours almost playing Scrabble, and he got me and said he's going to propose to me because I spelled the word egregious. That was a fun date. It didn't cost either of us anything but $50 total between gas, food, and maybe I think we bought it was like a margarita truck that had came, and he's like, "Oh, do you want a margarita?" That wasn't very expensive at all. So my thing is, if you don't have the budget, then at least have the creativity. So the
Well,
call to action is do something creative.
mhm.
If you don't want to take a girl to dinner, who said dinner is the date? Find out what she likes. Is it an activity that she likes to do? Escape rooms are really fun. Like find something that you can do where you actually can interact. Dinner and a movie actually are bad first dates anyway
So you don't get
because
to talk.
you don't get to talk. So
Well, you
I
get to talk at the dinner.
I would
Yeah,
say
do
in the
you?
world of
Do you
Google,
really?
you really don't because you
Listen, when
Yes,
I
you
never been on
Do
a
you
date
really?
on a
You talk in the car, and you talk in the car.
yeah.
We
I,
ain't
hey,
talking at dinner
you
that
know,
way.
I think people
Jenny, I
are
think we might need to put out a manual or something, right? How
so.
we do?
Oh
How we do
wow,
So
it?
one of the things
not
that
a
he did,
manual.
one of the things that I think he did that I thought was pretty good is that we went to the farmers market together.
Oh, I like
And
that.
he bought a lot of stuff, and I showed him a lot of different foods that I actually had as a child. And we bought some of them. He tried it in the car, didn't like some of them, and then when we got back to the house, he we made was it it's escabeche fish. It's fish. We made fish, and I ate the fish head in front of him.
Oh,
And it was so nasty. That was so
I know it
nasty to
was.
watch.
I know it was.
So that was his introduction to having being around someone who is definitely a whole different culture. But I think because of that, we had like lots and lots of conversation about how we function, what we cook, budgeting, what you purchase, how you see your household looking, without actually, being like, what do you bring to the table? You know?
These fish
So,
heads.
yeah,
And I think this is ideally like first date. So like I mean, once we're dating, nobody's
right,
expecting you to just 5-star dinner me every week. That's an
right,
unrealistic expectation. But your first date is you would bring your best self to an interview because they love to use that. You go to a job interview. So why wouldn't you bring the best version of yourself to a first date? Why wouldn't you
right,
want me to see the very best version of you? Why wouldn't you want to make me feel special as a lady? Like that's important to me for my partner to make me feel special. And if you wouldn't even do that on a first date, then why would I believe that you would ever do it at all?
right.
Oh,
I think though, if you're dating multiple people, you are not centered on who you want to date. And to me, the most important thing you need to do for you and the other person is to make sure that you determine which one of these young people or old people you are definitely wanting to invest your finances in as a male. Because what you're doing is you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off and being like, well, let me see if what I can get from this one, what I can get from that one. And when you don't get what you want, then you're like, well, y'all want dinner. That's why you're with me or whatever. But you are, not focused on what you want. you're not doing your research, as Netra said. You're just out there, pot, shooting shots and seeing, what ricochets.
You know, I love that you say that. I What just came to mind was a man I met on a dating website. It didn't go anywhere, but I was on Bumble. And we had hung out a couple times, and he was very transparent about like all the women that he was meeting on Bumble. And out of maybe 7 women that he had brought up to me, 4 of them were like a definite no. So you can imagine at this point we've kind of friend zoned each other. But we were hanging out, and I was like, so these 4 women are a no. Do they know they're a no? And he was like, well, why would I tell them that? And that has stuck in my head. That, so he's flirting back, and like these girls are like, when can I see you? And he's like, soon, heart eye emoji. And so this girl is thinking that he's just really busy and he's just got a lot on his plate. And literally, he just told me while we're hanging out, and this person is asking to see you, he ain't even getting none from me. Like he was like friend zone. So here, this
Uh
person
oh.
is spending money on me, hanging out with me, the person who wouldn't answer that question, while 4 other women who are a definite no, like, are rallying themselves in this thing, like, oh, you should make time with me. I'm an amazing date. I would never.
Mm.
So it's like
Thursday.
you have to have some type of self-esteem on both ends, because these 4 women have no clue that they're a no, but he knows that they're a no. So I believe that men know, like they know what you bring to the table before they ask. They know if they like you before they invite you to coffee. But if he can get away with a $4.54
But
latte, and
but a woman know if they're gonna be with you from the top too, though. So I mean, that goes. I mean, let's be
But
fair. Let's be
so
fair in that. Let's be fair in that.
here's
I'm
the
being
hit.
honest, we do. I know.
Yeah, we do.
Exactly.
First to second date. But here's the thing. At 45, like I told that guy, I said, look, me and you don't mesh. So let's just either be friends or be strangers. Which one?
You know what? And I can respect that. Yeah.
And he was like, well, I really think you're dope. So let's be friends. And we became friends.
So hold on, because we passed time. But let's be friends. The friendship zone, and the fact that Netra thinks that she can have male friends. I think I'm gonna nominate the next show to be: is it possible for a man to be friends, quote, with a female? And then maybe we can get the professor up in here, because he was adamant that that's just not the case. What do y'all think?
Female
What do y'all
slash
think about
X.
that?
How about that? Even
I would
add,
love
friends
that.
with
add
them.
the X in there. Add the X in there too.
Oh
Add
yeah.
the X in there.
Can you be friends? Can you be friends?
What's
Yeah,
your ex?
with your man. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
Ex.
can I
Your
be
female
friends?
slash
I can't
X.
hang
Oh,
out.
Your
oh,
male slash
oh, your
X.
baby daddy.
Absolutely
Again,
not.
X.
No,
However it goes.
absolutely. Listen, if
y'all
I
like
get a
that?
man, it's my man, and he gonna get the respect. So I might respond back to you on Facebook or do a check in, like, hey, how you doing? I was thinking about you, but I will not by any means be hanging out or meeting up for coffees, lunches, nothing. But as a single woman, if I'm clear and like, hey, look, we can hang out, but I'm just letting you know this is what that looks like.
Yeah.
I just told somebody the other day I was in my whole phase. And my whole phase is holding out for exclusivity. Meaning I am not doing anything casual. So I am holding out for an exclusive relationship intimacy. But if you would like to hang out, like
That's what it means?
that's what my version means, whole phase.
Okay.
Holding out
Okay.
for
She
exclusivity.
said hold,
Right. I'm
not
like, what,
hold.
Jimmy?
Excuse me?
HOLD, not HOE.
No, I said whole phase. No,
My
I said
mind
HOE,
just.
holding out for exclusivity. So
Okay,
HOE.
okay, okay.
But
Okay.
it's an acronym I came up with because I was like, you know what? Because this guy was like, so you divorced? Are you in a whole phase? I said, actually, I am holding out for exclusivity because I'll be having them one-liners. But I'm not gonna be intimate with you, but I am single. So if you want to hang out while you entertaining 90 girls that you're not gonna take out, hey, fine. And I don't even have a problem with paying for myself. I'm not asking you to do that. We can just meet up. We can hang out. I don't live far from the Battery. It's a really fun place to go. We can meet over there. But we
What
are friends. But if
what
I were to get in a relationship, I would not do that.
what do you say to that, Clint? We could be, you could be friends with that, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because one night she gonna call you up at 2 a. Are you gonna call her up at 2 a.m. or she gonna
No,
call you
because
to be
sometimes,
real friendly?
because sometimes it doesn't need to go past that line.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to know who is actually your friend, who actually
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, I'm your friend," but you can, I'll toot it out a little bit.
So here,
Toot it
so
out a little
here,
bit
so here
here and
is
there. It's just here and there. But you're friends. But you
So,
so
know,
so
here's a concept I want to ask you guys. So women who say they have male friends actually know that a percentage of them are definitely waiting their turn.
exactly.
some of them are.
Swooping.
I think some of them are.
Some of them are
Okay.
trying to.
And I think
So
They're
I think you have to
desperate
define the
because they're
word
like, I'm the
friend.
one for you, not him, not her,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I'm the
Yeah,
one for you, and
exactly. I'm gonna be your
so
friend so you
that's
can
would
tell
you
me
that's
everything.
would
not
you
waiting.
say would you say if you know he's waiting his turn, there's a little ego that goes with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ego
Yeah,
how? Ego how?
manipulation too.
yeah. But I'll be
Manipulation.
honest,
Yes.
at this age, I wouldn't
Right.
entertain somebody like that. Like my
Okay.
male friends are
Mhm.
truly, some of them are
Oh,
married.
so you got male friends too, huh?
I have good male friends, and these are
Are they
people who are
straight
married.
or are they gay or
No,
what?
no, they are married. I know their wives. I'm good friends with their wives. They give me dating advice. They give me hope. I look at them as mentors as I put myself in preparation to be someone's wife again. Like, so these are people who have never made any inappropriate approach at me, never even a flirting comment. We've never been sexual. My best male friend is a pastor, and he has never been inappropriate with me ever.
You got to watch those pastors.
Yeah, it's so true. But I love his wife. Him and his wife are just, they are constant reminders of what God has planned for me. And so I do believe that there can be friends, but again, women have to hold themselves accountable and not use friends as a break in case of emergency. Like, oh, I'm bored, I need to get out, let me call him. I keep the
Yeah,
boundaries with my friends. Sometimes I treat them, hey, I
yeah.
got it tonight. I treat them just like I would treat my girl. I don't
And,
expect them to pay for anything or come up over my house and cuddle. I don't. They're
Yeah,
friends.
that's crazy.
and I
They're
meant the bad pastors. So I don't need
So
any bad
so
karma
so
coming on me.
guys,
But
would
yeah,
you
we
agree?
passed time though. We passed time though.
Oh,
So I think we got the show. The next, I think we got next week's show set up. Was
Yeah.
there a call to action tonight here, or is the call to action? Let's continue with our weekend here and let these people go.
no,
you
I
know,
think Lynette did do it.
yeah, I did it. I said the call to action was like, well, I think the call to action is to stand on what you say, your
Okay.
boundaries. If you feel comfortable asking the question, answering the question, what do you bring to the table, girl, sis, do you? If you feel that that is a boundary that you do not want to cross, then I encourage you to be bold enough to feel the fear and do it anyway, and say, you know what, I'm gonna see what happens if I hold that boundary and choose not to answer that question and not worry about if you're going to be rejected or not. And the call to action for men is, baby, it's Google out here. It answers everything for you. Find a better question. Just find a better question. Just Google one. A matter of fact, I got even better for them. Go to Chat GPT. It's a free AI service, and you could put in, give me better questions other than what do I bring to the table. Chat and it will give them multiple responses that they could use other than what do we bring to the table. So
Yeah, but
there are
Chat
two,
Hey
GPT
man, you
Chat
better
GPT
copy
won't let
that
you
down too.
manipulate.
right. But if you got sincere intentions, Chat GPT do everything. So find a better question because girls is catching on to that, and I don't bring nothing to the table, but I'm the guest of honor. I brought myself.
Does anybody have any closing words for the people? Clint.
Nah, no closing words. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself. I'm going to work tonight, y'all.
All
Peace.
right. Love your cousin. Netra, you got anything you want to tell the people?
Yes, follow me on all my social channels. It's at the Brown Perfection.
All
She's
right.
amazing on her platform.
Isn't she?
I'm
Isn't
slowly
she?
becoming a little obsessed with the prompts. So definitely
Lynette,
follow her. We
you
were
want to
gonna
say
do a
anything?
live tonight, but I got some kiddos here, so but we're gonna jump on maybe this weekend so we can
Yeah.
just get people to get to know us a little bit more personally and better.
Yeah.
All right.
What's up?
And Jenny J.
Thank you all for coming, and Join us next week at 10 p.m. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we hope this gave you some more ideas about how to date in a really good way. I hope you find somebody you care for.
Oh,
Yeah, and I just want to remind the people that if you can't watch, we are now podcasting and we are on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Pandora, Castbox, and Google Podcasts. Just do a search for Grown and Social, and you can take us with you wherever you can't watch, but you can listen. And with that, we are out of here.
Have a great
All
night.
right.